Damian Ryder, extreme sports badass, reality TV star, and anti-child abuse activist. All of his achievements went straight to world record because he was the first guy crazy enough to attempt them.
Death-defying, stunt after stunt, Damian Ryder has proven nothing is impossible.
His most famous challenge was to paddle for 500 miles in 17 days, across the shark and jellyfish-infested water off the Australian coast.
Most people have given up on him.
They all called him crazy, but the real reason why he decided to do it is because he was a survivor of unimaginable abuse.
He would turn on you, rip your clothes off, throw you against the wall.
His mother's partner abused him and his family for years.
And he said, right, I'm gonna have you killed.
But after his fourth attempt on his life, he started to look for answers.
I just took a stand on my life and thought, well, if they're not gonna find the answers, I am, or I'm gonna die trying. You know, sometimes I'd be laying in bed and I'd hear thuds and screams, and smashing of plates and smashing of glasses. The whole kitchen and lounge room would be just covered in blood all over the walls. My mum would be split open.
Her boyfriend forced himself upon her, and he knew he was next.
He would turn on you, smack you, throw you, rip your clothes off, throw you against the wall. And then when the police did come, he would just beat them up anyway on the front lawn. They go away and I'm like, I'm a little kid, you've got guns, you've got batons, and you can't do anything. How do you think I feel? I had nowhere to go, it felt like, because I wasn't safe at home. So again, when I could get out naked, I'd run down to the beach, find like a rock cave just to sit in, but because the rocks were so cold, it was kind of like they were burning my skin. But I'd just sit there and shake and shiver uncontrollably, but still have to try and calm myself down. So I remember I would just listen to the ocean just lapping up on the shore and just try and breathe. If I was breathing heavier, then it would warm my body up. So I would just listen to the ocean and just breathe as heavy as I can until I calm myself down enough that I'd just go to sleep. And then I'd have to get up in the morning and I would just find someone's clothesline and get clothes off just to keep out of the house and keep alive.
And most people would think, this is it. This is where the trauma comes from. But the truth is, there was no respite. There was no single moment.
And like this is, you know, nearly every night, nearly every second night for years, this went on.
10 years later, Damian ran away from home and decided that he would find his real father.
My mum only gave me like a first name, Nick. That's all she gave me. And I was like, oh no, I remember going into this like delicatessen when I was 2 years old and my mum saying Nick to the guy behind the counter. And I walked in and I said, oh, is there a guy Nick here? And she goes, that's him in there. And I said, are you Nick? I'm Damian. I think I'm his son. And he just told me about all the people he'd bashed, all the money he'd made, all the people he'd killed and all this stuff, like just the fucking dirtbag really, but thought he was like this some mafia boss dude. And I said, I just want to tell you you're the weakest person I've ever met in my life. And he said, right, I'm gonna have you killed. I said, all right. I'll be sitting at Margaret River pub, sitting at the end of the bar. You bring whoever you want, I'll be waiting there. And I sat there, drank beer all night. And but I woke up, I was alive, and I called him and I said, I'm still alive, so I told you you're weak.
With no one else to turn out to, the demons of his past became too much for him to carry.
The demons are the voices in your head. That's what people look at PTSD as. But it's when the negative voices take over your whole life. That's what I refer to as the demons. I could feel my life was going down and I was really hitting a super low point in my life. And then for me, it made sense to end my life. So no one had to worry about it, no one had to think about it for me.
This was his fourth and final attempt on his life, and in a split second, his fate was sealed.
Luckily, I was saved about 3 seconds beforehand, before the lights were out. And I started to think about What happens if I go to some other place that we don't know exists and I still have to deal with this? That's exactly what I thought. I got to sort my own shit out myself. I just took a stand on my life and thought, well, if they're not going to find the answers, I am, or I'm going to die trying. And then, yeah, that's when I knew I had to get back into the ocean, start doing things my way.
He remembered his time in the caves by the beach, where the ocean was his only companion. He picked up the first board he saw and paddled away towards the horizon.
Why the ocean is so healing. I knew there was something special in it that I just had to start exploring. So I went in, checked out what world records were in a sport that I'd only done for 5 minutes. I thought that's what I'm going to do.
So Damian decided to attempt something impossible.
800-kilometre paddle for 17 days in the water. There's probably about a 20% chance that I would make it alive. But also at the same time, I believed that I needed to do something that I was going to be proud of. I kind of looked at my life and thought, well, it can't be as tough as what I went through as a kid, so just start paddling.
But in the middle of the ocean, there was no way for him to escape his past.
One of the main things was there was no escape from the demons that were coming up. They were just there. They were in front of me the whole time. My childhood, feeling ashamed about it, I knew I was worth more than what was happening to me. At the end of day 4, I was stung by this jellyfish, I was paralysed, I'd seen sharks, I was in so much pain, I was like pretty much washed up on the beach. Should I just give up now? Because this is crazy. And all the voices and all the noise in my head was just so loud. And everywhere that I'd been struck as a kid or thrown against a wall, I could feel that pain in my body the whole time with every single stroke. And I was nearly in tears the whole time of just so much physical and emotional pain that I was going through. And I thought, is this it? Is this it for me? All right, I need to have a look at this. Before I give up, I need to have a look at what I've just gone through. So I really started to process what I was learning along the way. It didn't matter any of the answers to any of my questions that I wanted to know from my father or from anyone, because it was never going to change what happened, never going to rewrite history or my life at all. All that mattered was what I'd learnt from my life to get me from there to here, and now use that for the tools to get me from here to wherever I'm going to next.
This wave of emotion led him to feel something he had never felt before.
It was acceptance. It freed me. I woke up in the morning, there was no pain whatsoever. There was no noises in my head. I was listening to the ocean and I started to look for the demons of my past, and I couldn't even find them. I was still going in the same direction, it was still the same goal, but the narrative had changed. I was no longer willing to die for what I believed in. I was now living for what I knew was right. I wasn't the only one who was facing child abuse. So it completely changed from me doing something that I was proud of for myself to something that was just so much bigger than the paddle, than me. So how could I stop?
Damian completed the challenge and created the Paddle Against Child Abuse Association. He then skydived off the top of a hot air balloon, skateboarded for 56 days in the desert, and ran a marathon with a mattress on his back for his association. Now a father himself, he credits most of his achievements to his son.
I never had a father, so all I wanted to be was a good father. I did the paddle for him, for me and for him. But for me, I could never ever have imagined like how my life would change after that paddle, and how I would go on to change millions of people's lives across the globe. You know, everyone has so much that they should be proud of who they are. Like why? Why can't we just utilise that? Why isn't that our superpower?
Don Sarah once said, "There is no timestamp on trauma. There isn't a formula that you can insert yourself into to get from horror to healed. Be patient. Let your journey be the balm."